Okay, so now that you've chosen a topic and you know how to do research for your speech to gather information, the next step is to organize that information. So for this, I would recommend printing off the blank outline that I've provided, because in this class we will speak from an outline for your speeches. So this outline will help you kind of organize your thoughts so you can stay on track when you're giving your speech. So in public speaking, we have this thing where we say we tell them what we're going to tell them, we tell them, and we tell them what we just told them. So it seems kind of redundant, but you have to keep in mind that when you're giving a speech, unlike if you're reading an essay, if you read an essay and you miss something, you can go back and reread it. But if you're listening to a speech, you only have the words that someone's saying, and you can't go back. So that's why we go ahead and we tell them what we're going to tell them, we tell them, and we tell them what we just told them. So it makes sense then that you would start in the middle for this speech, for writing a speech. You would start with the body of your speech, or the tell them part. So that way you can go back and preview and review at the end after you've done the middle. So for that middle section, your body of your speech, you'll typically have about 3 main points. So when you think about organizing your 3 main points, you can do that a lot of different ways. Chapter 12 talks about different ways to organize a speech. The 3 main ways you can do that are going to be chronologically, topically, or spatially. So the first one is chronologically, or time, right? Time, that's what that means. So you would start with maybe say the first thing that happened, the next thing that happened, the last thing that happened. Maybe if you're doing a person for your informative speech, which is a popular topic for informative speeches, you could start with their early life, their career, and then maybe their post-career or post-retirement life, right? So that is one example of chronologically. So this happened first, this happened second, this happened last. Another way you can do it is topically. So if your speech topic just breaks out and just it makes sense to do these 3 things, then you're going to go topically, right? So maybe, for example, you're talking about types of guitars, okay? And you think, well, you have acoustic, you have electric, and they're another kind of guitar, right? There's 3 different types of guitars. This just makes sense, right? That I'm going to break it out because that makes the most sense to me, and it seems to organize and flow really well. Another one you can do is spatially. So that one seems kind of weird, but that's kind of like where things happened. So maybe if you're doing a topic, for example, tornadoes in Oklahoma, and you want to say one happened in Moore, one happened in Oklahoma City, one happened in Tahlequah. Okay, and you want to talk about those different tornadoes that happened there, you could do it spatially by where it happened. So those are some examples of how you could organize that body of your speech. So you want to make sure that when you're writing your body of your speech, like you can look at your outline and see, you're going to have one main sentence and just one sentence only that is the topic, right? So, for example, tornado in Tahlequah in 1957, right? And then underneath that, you're going to include types of supporting material there. You're going to include supporting information about that tornado in Tahlequah. Okay, so when we talk about supporting material, right, we talked about in the last video, we talked about how to research, right? So you're where to find that information. But what type of information are you finding? Okay, so there are lots of different types of supporting material. Some of those include illustrations, descriptions, definitions, analogies, statistics, and opinions. So illustrations are just sort of like a word picture, right? You're telling a little bit of a story or an anecdote, you're painting, you're setting the scene, right? So you're really describing exactly what happened for the audience. Descriptions and explanations are really important if you are using something that's hard to understand and you want to really describe more and explain more about it. Definitions are really important if you are using some sort of acronym or slang term or jargon, like if you're talking medical technology or terminology that most people wouldn't be familiar with. You want to go ahead and make sure you define what that is, because people are going to get lost. Or maybe you're talking about a rodeo and you throw around terms that people that aren't in the rodeo community wouldn't understand. You want to go ahead and define those for us. Analogies are another one. So analogies are saying this is like that. So maybe you relay more complicated information by showing us exactly what it is like. Statistics are good to have. That's, 4 out of 5 people, 97% of people according to this place. So statistics are really good to use also. And finally, opinions. And when I say opinions, I mean expert opinions. So, for example, if you are talking about some new type of surgery and you have an opinion from a doctor, that's appropriate. You probably wouldn't give us, Joe down the hall said this about that surgery. Joe, what does Joe do? What does he do? I don't know. He's not a doctor. So don't include his opinion because it doesn't really apply to this speech. So those are the sorts of things that you're going to put underneath those main topics is the supporting material underneath. So you want to make sure again to have one single sentence, one line there, and then underneath you're going to have the supporting material that you're going to talk about under that topic, if that makes sense. So again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns about how to organize the body of your speech, don't hesitate, shoot me an email and let me know. Oh, another thing there to make sure that you